I'm sick of watching it every time, fall to the knees. I'm sick of watching you when you bend down your way. I'm sick of staring at a body and you don't fucking get it. You heard I want you to ignore it, now you're gonna regret it. I'm late at the door, I hit you, you hit the floor. Burn it, burn it, burn it, burn it. I'm sick of watching it and your time, fall to the knees. I'm sick of watching you and you bend down and you play. I'm sick of staring at a body and you don't fucking.
Welcome back to Ground Zero Salem. I am your host, Pat. So, getting my sea legs again, feeling like making some videos. Behind me, got some VCLT from Marty of Bindrune, and I also ordered some discs along with that new Panopticon I talked about last update. Just went through some sales stuff, just kind of picked out stuff that looked interesting, so I figured I'll talk about that. Plus I got a few more LPs that I picked up at Residency Records down the street. So let's get into it. This is a great record, just presentation-wise alone. It's a 2-song Gangrene single. King of Bands. It's got We'll Give It To You from the LP You Got It and Skate to Hell. Now, I'm a little embarrassed because I live in Boston. I love hardcore punk. This is the first thing that I own by Gangrene. Well familiar with their songs from the This Is Boston Not LA comp. Love their early hardcore stuff. I hear their metal crossover whatever shit get slammed a lot. I am well familiar with the song Alcohol. It's a song that gets covered all the time. Meatmen did a great cover of it. I'm sure I've had the original downloaded at some point over the years or streamed it a bunch of times just because it's a rager of a tune. But I wasn't disappointed by this at all. Came out on green vinyl. Roadrunner there. Came out sometime in the mid to late 80s. And the 2 songs on this are great. They're ripping, fun, punk metal kind of stuff. They're not too butt rock. They didn't go down that road that SSD and DYS did. Nor is it speed metal. It's almost just kind of like party rock and roll, blazing solo, old school metal meets old school hardcore punk kind of shit. But yeah, glad to have this. The green vinyl's beautiful. Thank you for that. I remember in American Hardcore, they talked about Skate to Hell specifically being like Gangrene's downfall. They went on tour with a huge half pipe and all this other stuff. I don't know, the song itself is fun. I like it. Then I got this Misery EP from 2010, I think. Came out on Inimical Records. 6 songs, 2 covers. I do like this band a bunch. I have their first full-length production Through Destruction. They've been around forever. They're one of the very first American crust bands to kind of bridge the gap of the sound from the original UK dudes like Prophecy of Doom and all those guys up until the more modern, at the time, modern Profane Existence kind of sound. They were from Minneapolis. Really good EP here. The beginning is a beautiful song with some acoustic guitars and female vocals. Their sound, Misery's sound, always seemed to be traditionally kind of on the murky side. It sounds a lot more clear and cleaned up on this. They've always had a strong Amebix influence, like a lot of bands of this genre. It seems even stronger on this. They do a Sacrilege UK cover, which is awesome. They do Lifeline. And a cover of a band called Chrome that I think I need to check out. That was a pretty wild California hard rock band from the 70s that carried on to the 80s. I know very little about them, but I just looked them up real quick. But the song's called Third from the Sun. Great song. All the songs on here are really good, particularly the song Midnight. Really good burner of a song. There's Air Raid Sirens. Wouldn't be a good crust record without some Air Raid Sirens. So, enjoying that. Next, we've got Portrait. And it's funny, I know these guys were kind of King Diamond, Merciful Fate worship. I've heard them mentioned in the same breath as bands like Attic. I actually thought that they were newer than this Let's On. This came out in 2008. Not sure if they're still around or not. It's on High Roller. Typical great High Roller packaging. Comes out on picture disc. Right there. Got the goat there. I like it because it's the idea of straight up Merciful Fate worship or King Diamond worship seems like a really tough road to hoe, you know? And I don't know if a band, I haven't even really heard Attic, but I don't know about a band pulling off Merciful Fate or King Diamond stuff perfectly would be something that I'm into. This band just seems heavily influenced or inspired. Of course, in the vocal department, they seem to do it pretty well. There's a lot of just classic new wave of British heavy metal dual guitars on this that I like a lot. It's a good spin, you know, not always what I'm in the mood for, but solid record for sure. I'm trying to remember where these guys are from. I don't know off the top of my head. I'll probably put a little caption saying where. I'm sure it's somewhere in Europe and probably Scandinavia, but don't remember at the moment. Then we've got In Solitude, who are also kind of lumped in with some of that, you know, Merciful Fate worship kind of stuff. I remember early on they were kind of mentioned in the same breath as Ghost. Be that as it may, they don't sound anything like that. It's and I don't even really think they bear that much resemblance to Merciful Fate. The name is an obvious nod to Candlemas, and sometimes the vocals are kind of Marcolin-esque. I loved the shit out of their second record, The Blood, the Flesh, and the Devil. That's a fantastic full-length that I listened to into the ground when it came out. Bought it right when it came out when I worked at Newbury Comics. And I was always curious about this first one. I heard Sister, which is it's a divisive record. That didn't really do much for me. I know a lot of people love it. A lot of people hate it. This is good, but I feel like they were getting their bearings before what they did on the second full-length. It's very good, catchy, melodic, traditional heavy metal with a few darker occult elements and kind of scary backing vocals that are almost sort of black or death metal-ish. Some similarities, of course, to Merciful Fate and Candlemas, but very much, you know, kind of doing their own thing, their own sound. It's a good one. This came out on High Roller. It's got a bunch of the bonuses with it, the poster and everything. I'm not going to show those, but it is on gold vinyl, which looks good, sounds good. So, that's a good one. I've been wanting that in my collection for a while. Been meaning to pull the trigger, just thinking of other stuff, so it's awesome that Marty sent that. Finally, for LPs, this is stuff that I picked up at the new shop here in Salem down the street. Been wanting this on vinyl for a while. I have it on cassette. It's time for an upgrade. We got Flotsam and Jetsam, Doomsday for the Deceiver. Killer Thrash. Originally from somewhere in the Southwest, I think they were based out of. If you didn't know, if you were living under a rock, it was Jason Newsted from Metallica's first band. And you can see why they picked him. The bass sounds great on this. You can actually hear it. Very present and forceful. Clean bass sound. Balls kicking fucking speed / thrash metal. Great, clean, powerful sung vocals. Real ripper. This is the only record I've gotten into by these guys. I do hear a lot of good stuff about No Place for Disgrace. I'll have to cop that one next. But it's in decent shape, little beat up. Came out on Restless Metal Blade. There's the center labels there with the axe. Printed inner sleeve. Just a thanks list and lyrics. But yeah, highly recommended if you haven't scoped them out. You want to hear what Jason Newsted was doing before the 598 EP Garage Days Revisited. I need to spend more time with this. Listen to it like maybe twice. It's very good. I actually bought it thinking it was the new release by this band. This is actually the 2014. 6 songs, but it's about album length. This is The Awaiting Coffins by Churchburn. This came out on the Armageddon Shop label. 5 songs, excuse me. Judging by the name, I thought it would be some kind of really just simple black metal kind of stuff. I've heard of these guys for years. I may have even seen them at some point and don't remember. They've been a mainstay of the Providence scene for quite a while, but I can't get around to hearing everything. It's not black metal at all, and it's actually pretty unique. There's a lot of elements of it that I would say run parallel to the sludge genre as far as like tempo goes. Maybe vocally, kind of pain, screechy shouting. But there's a lot of like classic heavy metal in there as far as the lead work and the riffs. It's very thick, almost kind of suffocating, punishing metal. And the new one's out. Came out a couple of months ago. I will be picking that up as soon as I can because I really like this. Armageddon does great work. Big shout out to Ben for his hard work with his shop and his label. So hopefully I'll be talking about that new Churchburn soon. And then I got a classic. I did not own anything by Wasp, and it's The Last Command. 10 Bones. Oop. Stabilize. 10 Bones. Came out whenever. 1985 on Capitol. Yeah, Wasp. A lot of that stuff from the 80s took me a long time to come back around to. I've always been a big Twisted Sister fan, but for some reason, Wasp I always avoided like the plague. And this, I mean, is this the... I don't even know. I think this is the second one, to be honest. But it's got Blind in Texas, which is a great fucking party song. Cries in the Night, another excellent one. Cries in the Night's a great, like, kind of scary, kind of slow burn jammer. Ball Crusher. I mean, it's just nasty, heavy metal. You know, there's nothing cutesy or there's no innuendos. You know, it's pretty ballsy and in your face, ball crushery and in your face, and lots of fun. Wild Child's a fucking jam. Yep, nasty, gross, sleazy rock and roll, heavy metal kind of stuff. If you weren't already aware of that, I'll take this moment to tell you what we're listening to, since I neglected to do that the last time. We're listening to Conclave. Since we're going to be getting into CDs, this is a recent purchase of mine. I bought this straight from the band on Bandcamp. This guy Jerry, who played in Desolate, who are a classic Massachusetts death metal band, who I saw recently with Morbosa Dad last year, plays bass. Another guy from Desolate's also in the band. Jerry also was in Warhorse during the 2000s, who are great sludgy, crushing doom. And this is more great sludgy, crushing doom. It's got a little bit more of a rolling and rollicking kind of thing that Warhorse had, but just pummeling, and the tone and everything is almost like somewhere on the level of like Bolt Thrower thickness and heaviness. I really like these guys. Member of the band, I can't remember which one, gave myself and Amanda the old EP that came out 5 or 6 years ago at a show years back. And since then, I've been wanting to pick this up, so glad I did. I'll leave links for everything, but especially check this out if you like what's playing in the background. All right, so a couple of cheap pickups from Bindrune on CD. Might as well throw that out there. We got Evoked Curse with Merciless Revenge. This is a band that existed, members lived in Sweden and now live in Finland, I guess. It's just really raw, nasty black thrash. A lot of similarities to early Destruction. Sounds like it's recorded on a 4 or an 8 track. Little bit of the smear style screaming on it. Lots of fun, you know, not to be taken too seriously, especially with songs like Corpse Paint, Leather and Spikes, Impale, Heaven's Virgins. Some good riffs here and there. Competent. This is just a collection of CDs, or CDs. Well, there's a CDR on here. It's a collection of demos. One's a CDR, two, I presume, were on cassette. Who cares? Collection of demos from late 90s, early 2000s. Good spin, good listen. Nothing too out of the ordinary, too standout, but solid, workmanlike. Then we've got Eat My Fuk with Wet Slit and a Bottle of Whiskey. Came out on Bestial Onslaught Records out of Boston back in 2003. This features members of Autopsy, notably Chris Reifert, doing a little ode to the one and only Jesus Christ Allen. Yes, this is a poop-smeared love letter to G.G. Allen's formative years. If you like early Abscess, the more punkish sounding stuff, this goes down that path even further. One would even call it probably G.G. Allen worship. Somewhere in between Abscess kind of vocals and G.G. kind of vocals. It's, if you're a depraved fuck, maybe check it out. Anyway, we got Gravehill here. This is the 2011 release, When All Roads Lead to Hell. Came out on Dark Descent. Gravehill's been around for a minute. I guess there's only one original member than their original lineup, which had a guy from Gehenna in it. This is Great, no frills, blackened thrash with death metal influences. It like some bands like Nunslaughter or Ares Kingdom, it kind of rests comfortably between all three genres. More or less the classic eras of all of them. It's got a punkish, nasty edge to it. Doesn't take itself too seriously, but at the same time, they're not wearing, you know, flipped up hats and singing about pizza and shit like that. Unabashedly satanic. Very, very fucking pissed. I love the production on this. It's really fucking nasty. The riffs are really good. Fun listen. And we got Alehammer, Barmageddon. This came out on Self-Made God back in, I think, 2011 or 2012. Another all-star cast on this bad boy. People from, it's either Prophecy, I think it's Prophecy of Doom, it might be Deviated Instincts, as well as members of Doom, Hellcrusher, Extinction of Mankind, just a who's who of UK crust. Fucking excellent band, really fucking catchy. Definitely has a slightly motor-driven slash, I don't know, discharge kind of vibe to it, but there's also a good deal of grind and death metal in there as well. There's even like a great, almost kind of boogie rock, stonery kind of riff on Floormonger, the fourth song on this, and it's actually good. The riff is really tasty and excellent. They keep calling this an album on everything I look at online about it, but it's 6 songs, and they're not long, so half an hour, you're out of there. So then we got Agathocles with Black Clouds Determinate. This was reissued by Self-Made God back in, I think, 2010, 2011. Originally came out sometime in the 90s. It's second full length by Belgian Mincecore masters, Agathocles. Mincecore is grindcore. That's the style of music that they're playing. With their own, they always had their own unique spin on stuff. On this one, they got a little less death metal. Their early stuff, a lot of their early splits, the stuff they did on Seraphic Decay, their first album, did have more of kind of a death metal thing, a death grind thing going on. This, they get a lot more hardcore, a little bit more dischargey in places. There's more shouted, clean vocals, along with kind of hoarse, grindy shouts and gurgly, almost carcass-style vocals on there as well. Pretty much straightforward grind, very hissy kind of recording. There's the hissy drums, which maybe you like it, maybe you won't. I do enjoy it, you know, gives it some more of a kind of a noisy, sort of frenetic kind of vibe to it, but lots of blasting, lots of fast stuff. There's even they even throw in some reggae on here on Europe's Fairy Tale, so fucking cool stuff, Agathocles. Finally, we've got Wheel. This is the first Wheel record. They were a German doom metal band. This is self-titled. Can't read what the label name is, so I'm going to skip that. 2010. Serviceable doom. Good stuff. Nothing totally outstanding, but good, decent. For lack of a more imaginative description, it's good traditional doom. Kind of thick, heavy, slightly stonerish kind of sounding guitars, but you're not getting your speakers blown out, really. It's not quite as thick sounding as what we're listening to right now. Good, clear, pained vocals. I'd say somewhere in between like Phil Swanson from Hour of 13 and maybe Robert Lowe from Solitude Aeternus. Good shit. I haven't spent a lot of time with it lately. I've spun it a few times. It's decent. Could be better, could be a hell of a lot worse. I do enjoy it. And that's about it for right now. I'm gonna say thank you to Marty. I've been thinking about recording this all weekend. It's Monday. This isn't gonna make it up till Friday. Got a busy week ahead of me as usual. So, as I stated, things are ramping back up. I'm getting a bunch of stuff in the mail. Some good hardcore arriving. Trying to catch up with hardcore a little bit this year. See what records are good. And I'm gonna probably be talking about all the reissues that have been piling up around me. So much good shit's getting reissued this year, as well as a few from the past couple of years that I've been wanting for a while, from Dark Descent and The Crypt. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope you are. I hope that everybody has a wonderful weekend, because that's when you'll be seeing this on Friday. And take care.